Hi, I'm Carl Lukings, and tonight we are with Resource Stage, and these guys that are on the other line here, they keep making all kinds of noise and stuff, and hopefully we can actually get around to talking about something a little bit serious. My name is, as I said, Carl Lukings, and this is our first Resource Stage seminar that we've done in a style like this. We've never tried this sort of thing before, so it'll be interesting to see how it goes. And we are streaming tonight on a couple of different places. We're streaming on our Resource Stage page, as well as on YouTube and on Facebook. And we're on both our Facebook page for Resource Stage and on our Facebook page for Horizon Solutions. So if you have any questions or comments or anything that you want to ask about, then you can go ahead and there's ways of chatting on all of those platforms, so you can go ahead and do that. And there are some people who are checking those out, so hopefully you can get your questions answered there, and maybe we'll even be able to get to that. So tonight we have four people joining us, four great people joining us. People I like. Well, actually, I like 3 out of the 4 of them. We'll figure out which one. What are you laughing so hard about, Al? So let's see here. We'll start in the top left-hand corner. It's like Hollywood Squares. Aaron Grout. Aaron is with Calvary Burlington. Aaron actually was telling me today he's been there for 7 years. He was in London here at Stony Creek Baptist Church before that. And we got to know each other there when they were doing some work at the building there, and they built that new building quite a while ago now. And then beside him, we have Al Mills. Al is with Forest City Community Church here in London, and known Al for a long time. We do a lot of work with Forest City Community Church. And I think, did you tell me the other day that you guys are streaming to like over 2,000 people right now, something like that?
Yeah, Sunday mornings we average about 2,500.
About 2,500. That's a lot. Then kind of continuing around the circle here, we've got Adam Woodman. Adam is with New Hope out of Lambeth. They are a Pentecostal church down in Lambeth. And Adam pointed out to me the other day that they are a unique church, one of 56 churches, I believe he said, with the name New Hope in Canada. But mind you, there's a lot of Calvaries and there's a lot of Bethels and lots of churches with similar names. I'm not sure how many churches there are with the name St. Paul's, but we certainly have run into a few. Al Brower, Pastor Alan Brower, is at St. Paul's in Ingersoll. He's been there for about 4 years now. And as he is so proudly presenting this evening, he is a Chicago White Sox fan, which is really unfortunate for him. But, what are you going to do? So we are, the plan tonight, we got talking about this actually just about a week ago, and we were discussing what we're going to do with Resource Stage. The plan had been that Resource Stage this month was going to be about microphones, and we're going to be talking about how you use microphones for live theater. Well, there's not a lot of people in London or in Ontario or in Canada that's doing a lot of live theater these days. So it didn't really seem like the most appropriate session to be doing. We will pick that up again at some other time. But for the moment, we got thinking, there are so many people who are trying to do streaming. There's so many churches that are trying to do streaming right now, and they're trying to figure out, how do we do this? How do we make something work? And everybody seems to be struggling. Everybody seems to be, I think anybody who says we got this is probably a little bit, either they've been doing it a long time already, or they're maybe faking it a little bit. The reality is that there's a lot of people who are trying to make this work, and we're all into territory that we haven't really seen before. It's one thing to be able to say, well, yeah, we've been streaming for the last 6 months, we've been streaming for the last 10 years, but it's totally different when you can only have 3 or 4 people in the building and you're trying to figure out how to make that work. So we thought it would be a good idea to get a couple of church leaders together, people that we trust, people that we know, and see what they are doing and talk about how they're doing it. And we've got a lot of different churches that we work with here at Horizon, but we decided that we wanted to see, well, who could we talk to that kind of has some very different takes on how this is happening. And I think all 4 of these churches are doing some interesting things, and they're doing interesting things in different ways. So that's why we've got these guys here. So I think that probably the best thing to do would be to start with Adam, because I've kind of got some slides in an order here. So I think we're gonna start with Adam. And actually, maybe the best thing to do is while I'm doing this, it might be a good idea. I don't know if you guys are able to mute your microphones. That might help to clean up the audio a little bit as we've got a number of people involved. So Adam, how's it going?
Good. The sun is now setting behind my house, and I'm getting sunned out here.
I can see that. Your face all of a sudden got this angelic glow.
Yeah, there's a cloud coming, so I'm gonna just leave it for now.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah.
So Adam, what were you guys doing before? Were you doing any streaming before, or what were you doing kind of before COVID?
Yeah. So before this, we have just been nervous about, and when I say we, I mean I have just been really nervous about streaming live. So we've been just recording the sermon, posting the sermon, day after sort of thing.
Right.
And that's really the extent of sort of our video capture from Sunday.
And have you been posting have you been posting video and audio, or just audio, or?
Audio for years, but video, I'd say the last 3 to 5 years sort of thing.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And can you kind of describe what it is that you're doing now? I think we've got a slide that we can go to that kind of shows a couple of snapshots from it.
Yeah, the main kind of stuff we're doing right now is all pre-recorded stuff, and that is partly just my nervousness of live streaming. But we'll do pre-recorded, whether it's music, whether it's a weekly devotional or daily devotional kind of thing, or whether it's the Sunday service.
Right.
So
okay.
That's us in a nutshell.
Okay. All right. And so as you were trying to decide what it was that you're going to put together, what was a factor? Like, what kind of things said, what, we've got to kind of put it together like this?
Yeah. Week 1, we were just kind of in shock, probably like most people. I remember going home on Friday afternoon that week and saying, all right, we'll see you Sunday. And we had rehearsal with the band the night before, and we were all ready for that. And come Saturday, we just said we can't. And so we got together Saturday night. We recorded. I went to bed at 4 a.m. on Sunday morning, and that was the start for us. And we really just regrouped the next week, a couple of days later, and just said, what worked, what didn't work, what's kind of the game plan going forward. So.
Right. So you were kind of just trying, so was that first Sunday basically the same as every Sunday that you would typically do and typically record?
Yeah, more or less. We didn't have very many video elements at that time. It was really just a couple songs and a sermon. Really, the stuff that was just already prepared for the Sunday.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, in your church, anybody who's visited New Hope knows that you've got a fairly large video screen at the back of your stage, and you produce content specifically for that. So to be able to pivot, within 24, 48 hours to try to put something together, because that's such a large piece of what you do, or what your presentation is on a Sunday morning, that's a lot of work.
Yeah, I mean, not a huge deal. We're just used to it, but yeah, a bit of a pivot there.
Sure.
So for us, the regroup the next week was to ask the question, are we going to keep doing that? Are we going to keep producing a Sunday morning experience once a week? And if we do, is that is that enough? Is that what we would think would be sufficient enough to help somebody feel a sense of connection to the church going forward? And that's just helped us to ask a lot of questions.
Right. Right. Yeah, that kind of opens up a lot of questions actually. So what do you think, I guess, what are your goals right now? What are your goals that you're looking at? You're saying, we've been doing this. What are the things that are kind of your most important pieces?
Yeah, for sure. Something that was really encouraging for me was being on this call with Worship Together, which is just a publisher in the States, and being on the call with some larger churches in the States, like Life Church, Elevation, Passion Church kind of thing.
Right.
And I was super encouraged to hear a lot of these people saying, we don't know what we're doing, and we're just taking it a step at a time, and we're trying to figure it out. We're trying to be faithful to the mission of the church and all this kind of stuff. And I just took a deep breath in those moments, like, wow, if those guys don't have it figured out, then I think I'm in good company, to not have everything charted out. So for us, we keep revisiting it, I would say once a week or so, we're saying, hey, because in the beginning you're saying, well, if this is going to go on for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, then we're going to approach it this way. And at this point, we're saying, we don't see the light at the end of the tunnel, in one way. And so what are we happy to do on more of a longer term basis? And so for us, we decided, and partly looking at the analytics of the first week, people tune in, let's just say 50 to 60% stayed till the very end.
Right.
And so we started to say, well, are we happy with that?
Right.
I mean, are we happy that X amount of people went with us for the whole journey, and the other percentage of people, they didn't? And so we started doing more of a daily, something shorter, easier to consume, more of a devotional sort of bent, again, pre-recorded video sort of thing, but just something so that we could maintain a sense of connection with people. And again, thinking that this is going to be a fairly short-term thing. So we're kind of back to the table again at this point, saying, okay, it hasn't ended yet. So what are we going to do now? Do we pivot again? So.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay, I'm gonna try this again because I think I messed this up the first time. So I'm gonna try switching to here. No, that's wrong. I'm gonna try switching to there. Okay. Simon, can we go to those slides? There we go. So so you're doing daily devotion type stuff. I've got a picture here of Greg and kind of headshot of him, and then a picture from I think a snapshot from some stuff that you've done as far as doing some recording in the sanctuary, and then intertwining that with some of the things that are happening for a couple of the services, I guess, right? So you're kind of using a couple of different elements.
Yeah, I put out a call to even our worship leaders to say, hey, could you record something from home?
Right.
And so we posted a couple things like that. A lot of people are watching from home in their pajamas. And so what if we didn't make this such a polished production?
Sure.
What if we didn't maintain that value as much? So that's been part of it for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I got another picture here, and this is actually, I know you can't see this, but this is a picture that I snapped off of the church's Facebook page. And this was, I guess this is your children's ministry pastor, Sarah, is that right?
That's right.
Yeah, and I just thought, I thought this was cool because, some of the people that I was talking to as we were building up to tonight, they were saying, well, what's happening in the sanctuary, or that regular church Sunday sort of thing is important, but what else is the church doing? And so that's kind of some of the elements that I think is interesting to talk about. So this was something that I guess she took on as the children's ministry to put together an Easter package for families. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Put together just this interactive Easter thing, and we put it out to the families. And at that point, it was kind of not edgy, but it was kind of up in the air whether people would respond positively or not. And we said, hey, we're putting these packages together. You can sign up. We will deliver them to your house, and we'll put them together with masks and gloves on and all the rest, and we'll just drop them off to you. So however many you want, whether it's for your house or for your neighbors or people we'll do that kind of thing. And they did that, and it was fantastic. And we saw a little bit of feedback. Somebody from the church signed up and said, "Yeah, I want one for my neighbor too," sort of thing.
Yeah, that's cool.
And we just got this video yesterday of this little girl just opening it up, and we're all really socially deprived right now, and anything to kind of interact is just gold right now.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
really
for
cool
sure.
to see the interaction with that.
Cool. That's cool. All right. So kind of moving around here, Al Brower. Your church is a little bit different than New Hope. I think that one of the things that's interesting is St. Paul's has been around for what it was like 1840, I think, is the original the original congregation. Or I think
170 years. 170 years.
170 years. And there's the St. Paul's Presbyterian. It's an old church in downtown Ingersoll, and you do have a bit of an older congregation, and you guys have had to consider that as you've been moving into this time of trying to figure out how to do things. So can you kind of tell us a little bit about what you've been doing before and what are you doing now?
So similar, we used to, before this, we used to kind of record video-wise our sermons and post them on YouTube.
Right.
That was the extent of pretty much any kind of streaming that we had done. And we have a mixed worship style too. So we don't necessarily have like a big praise band, per se. We have people that help lead with worship and everything. So then suddenly when this hit, we kind of were in our big question. I think you mentioned the word connection, right? Like our people, we had, surprisingly, but there is people out there that still don't have internet.
Right. Yep.
And even some people that do have internet or computers, they don't have speakers on their computer or a microphone. So we kind of said, okay, what are we going to do to really reach all our people that can be something? So we chose to do more of WebEx, which is similar to Zoom,
right?
Meetings, so that people can call in. And I found that was going to work well. We were going to do a service in our sanctuary. We have this big historic sanctuary, and then the biggest question became, well, how's our internet signal?
Right.
Like that, and in a big historic church building like that, the internet signal is horrible. One, we have DSL. We still have DSL, and the company's like, oh, we can run cable to you, but then immediately you know what that means, dollars.
Sure.
Big business kind of running a lot. So we kind of were planning to do our worship service with me and by ourselves in the sanctuary, and then all of a sudden our internet went out.
Right.
So now I'm like, what am I going to do? And that's when we had the idea of actually filming our services live from my living room.
Right.
Because my home internet, I could get on the phone and say, I need to increase the speed. And he's like, okay. And it's increased in next 10 minutes, right? Like,
right.
Up to a good streaming. So that really worked for us, then doing WebEx. And I found, WebEx was really helpful in our case because a lot of the older senior people that are part of our congregation really just appreciate and have that ability to call in. So we're still working week by week on what that means, because obviously they can't, if you don't have a computer with a printer, you can't really print off an order of service or know the words and lyrics to the songs that you're singing. So we're going to try to deliver some of those to people now as well. But I think it was an eye-opening for us too, is I have an aunt that lives in Michigan who was, found out we were gonna stream this, do it through WebEx, and she tried to connect. You
Right.
know, and that was eye-opening to me, that my aunt in Michigan, 4 or 5 hours away, was really interested and needed that encouragement of a service. So I think that's been a big eye-opener for us. So that's kind of the approach that we've taken. And now it's starting to expand into using it WebEx for our groups and stuff, now that people are comfortable using the technology.
Yeah, because I think you guys are you're using it for some Bible studies and that sort of thing as well. I think I think you told me board meetings and that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, I'm actually, as a minister too, I'm in a church in Woodstock, which is the town next over, is without a minister right now. So I've had to help them work through, without a pastor,
Right.
how to do kind of services and meetings and everything. So I've been having my, meetings with their elders and leadership through WebEx as well, and trying to get everybody on that. That's been the hardest part, I think, is the learning curve for everybody with, the new technology. Has been, that's kind of stressful. It takes sometimes 20 minutes or so to make sure everybody's connected.
I think that one of the things that's interesting about what you guys are doing is that the WebEx platform is, there are some slicker platforms out there as far as getting the highest quality audio, the highest quality video, that kind of thing. But what WebEx has allowed St. Paul's to do is to be able to allow people to communicate back and forth. And also, I know that there's been times when you've had people interact in the service from their homes live, because you can pull them in for part of the service, have them, whether it's a reading or something like that, and then switch back. And I think that there's certainly something to be said about having that interaction back and forth and the community element that goes along with that.
Yeah, that was really a part of it for us too, is trying to get more people involved. And that's always been our philosophy of ministry in our services, and then suddenly to be in my living room, and thankfully I have 4 children, and my wife is plays piano and everything. So in that aspect, my family's really taken a big kind of leap forward of faith and being involved.
Right.
But we've tried to get people to do little bits and pieces of the service. I even did one little, for Palm Sunday, I went to a farm where they have some donkeys, and I talked about that for our children. I did a little video, and then we uploaded that. Yeah, you're right though. The technology and the limitations sometimes you're fighting against as well. Right. There is limitations. We had a video that we did this Sunday that for some reason just didn't work.
Sure.
And and that's the problem when you're doing a live service. And as Carl said, at one point during my Sunday service, I hit my head on the chandelier as I was walking down. Right? So
yeah.
But we're learning as we go too, but I think people really appreciate that I'm trying to include everyone, right? Like,
yeah. Yeah, for sure. So, Aaron, out in Burlington, and you're in an interesting spot because you're technically on sabbatical right now, right?
Yeah, I'm a pastor that likes to run away from all this stuff. No, I'm just joking. The church was gracious to offer me a sabbatical after 7 years here in Burlington, and we'd all planned it out anyway, and then this hit. So we're just kind of taking it month to month. I use this analogy. Usually when a pastor goes on sabbatical, it's like the captain of the ship. He leaves the ship, goes into port for a break. I'm just a captain who's gone down to his cabin. That's kind of the analogy I'm using right now. But even just thinking of how you guys are talking, Adam, I remember that week, this all started going down, and you could kind of see the way things were ramping up. And I remember talking to my colleague, Candy Thorpe, who's our frontline administrator. She does everything else. She's awesome. Anyway, I just said, order the Mevo camera. We need it right now. That is something we thought about doing, but up until that time, the extent of our recorded media was just recording the sermon audio wise and just
Right.
putting it into a podcast and leaving it there. We'd been doing the social media piece. Candy runs that social media piece and does a great job with that. And so we were able to utilize that. But we scrambled really quickly into using the Mevo system. It came, we were able to get one, it came. And we chose that Mevo system, which is basically they send you a camera, you control it with your iPad, and you can plug it into your sound system. There's a sketch of it. It's really simple for producing wise, but it got us up and running really quickly. But we also chose that because it was portable, that if ever we couldn't meet in the church, we could take a camera home with us and run it at home, and bypass the laptop camera issue.
Right.
I think we've seen up the nostrils of more pastors in the last 2 weeks, right? And well-meaning, I get that, but we are able just to change that a little bit. And so we pivoted into that. One of the things at Calvary we've been really trying to work on over the years is engagement within our worship service. We're a congregation, like if everybody shows up, it's like 140, 150, somewhere in there. If everyone shows up, which rarely happens, but we're trying to make our worship services less upfront, but more engaging in terms of these and trying just feel connected. We put a high priority on greeting and welcoming people in, as most churches do, but we just didn't want to lose the engagement piece of our ministry. And so what we did is we used the Mevo system, got that up and running. The second week we actually plugged it into our sound system because we had to order the little connector,
Right.
and Amazon was slow. Then I realized that our soundboard that we'd had since the Earth's crust cooled had a major power amplifier issue, and so it was putting off like noise. So I had to run and get a backup board. So I'm running a 6-channel board now, literally, just with a mic and plugging everything into it. And then we also used a piece of technology that's been really great for us out of a company in Waterloo called Text Now. I don't know if you've ever heard of Text Now, but they'll give you a free app to put on your computer, and allows it gives you a number that people can text to, free
Oh,
texting.
right.
And so what we did with that is that we were able to put it on my phone and on Candy's phone, and allow people to text in prayer requests or stories, because we didn't, all of a sudden the church telephone number wasn't there. We had email, but it also gave people a point of contact that wasn't our personal phones, but yet we could have them connect in. So Sunday mornings we'd run prayer time where people were texting in prayer requests or passages of scripture or telling stories. We've had to navigate with the lag, whatever the technical term for that is,
Right.
because
Yeah, the
that's always a
latency, yeah.
challenge.
Yeah.
Figuring we've had lags that are upwards of 35 seconds down to like 15 seconds,
Right.
which creates in a live environment a lot different. And then the other thing we had to pivot on was lighting. We did not have, we had lighting, but we had a lot of natural light. We didn't have the high end spotlights. So, we grabbed what we could off Amazon, and we got some of, those lighting kits for like $100. We put those up. They're all right. They're better than not. And then we got hit with YouTube dropping their resolution the second and third week. I don't know if you guys found that. So suddenly our first couple streams, they were actually pretty good. Then I get home and I'm on sabbatical watching it going, that's kind of grainy on my TV. But you realize, YouTube, in order to the demand, cut the resolution. And so that was our Sunday morning experience. But we're trying, and now I'm on sabbatical, so we've got someone else in there. But we got a team of 4, because that was the other challenge, right? It went from anybody can be in the building down to come if you want to,
Right.
versus like 10, and then it was like 4 or
Right.
5. And it's 5, but we had 4 because one person had to bring their kid, which we totally get. So it's been a lot of challenges and a lot of changes really quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Do you think that, you've got a lot of different things there, and I can see how you're using things like the text app and that kind of stuff. What are your goals? Like, what are the kind of the goals that you're saying we need to be able to do this, this, and this every week?
Right. So one of the things that we said, this can never replace what we do live in-house. And so we're not even going to try.
Right.
And I told our staff, and I said, It needs to be shorter. We all know. How many times have we all checked our text messages, even in this live stream, right? Whenever screens are open, we're always checking stuff out. People have not learned that attention focus, even on computers. And so we cut it down to 1, 2, maybe 3 songs, a message that's way shorter, a sermon that's way shorter, and an element for the kids to try to keep them connected in. And so we really have tried to tighten up things. But our goals in this is to create a weekly engagement for the people of God in our context, so that they know that they can receive some spiritual nourishment,
Sure.
some connectivity with their friends they miss from church, and that's and just that there's people listening to them.
Right.
I think it's very easy in this kind of environment to be just one way, right?
Yep.
But I think people are lonely. We have singles, we have all ages. They're just looking, someone actually hear me. And so that's one of the goals we've been having, is just try to keep people connected in and
Okay.
engaged.
So one of the things that you and I got talking about a couple of weeks ago was some of the interactive things that you guys are doing. Here, I'm just gonna again, I'm gonna try to hit the right button here. Is that the one? Simon, can we switch to the laptop, please? So we have a slide here where one picture is actually your spare room again, I think. With you, and then because you're doing a thing, I think it's every Monday night now.
Yeah.
And so tell us a little bit about that.
Go ahead. Yeah, so typically the way I kind of run my calendar is Monday nights, I allow anybody in the congregation to meet with me. They can sign up. It's something I learned from a former senior pastor I had, and you can sign up and meet with me, and it works great. Anyway, so what I did is on Monday nights, I call it Monday Nights with Pastor Aaron. I went into what I thought was our private church Facebook group to do a Monday Nights with Pastor Aaron and just connect with our people that I knew. And hey, you got some questions, we can pray together, we can talk.
Right.
Anyway, in the process of setting up the Facebook Live, I went live on my public main profile page. So guys, in the context, in the space of 1 second, all of my worlds collided into one.
Whether you
Church,
meant to or
family.
not.
Yeah, I'm a police chaplain as well, and everything, and all these people are saying, "Hi, Aaron, hi, Aaron." So my audience went to all like 1,500 people that are Facebook friends with me. So suddenly I'm like, what am I going to do? And some of my staff just said, keep going. People want. So anyway, I've tried to do a half hour. So that sounds so ridiculous, but it is, where we've talked about different things. I did a Zoom live stream kind of like this with some people talking about parenting and COVID, and just keeping it short. And then I've just talked about how we're coping, and I bring in different stuff. And then last night, we just did trivia. I just did trivia because sometimes I find the nights are hard because daytime you're kind of keeping busy, but you're tired. You've reached the end of Netflix, and so anyway, we do that, and it just gives me a way to engage people. And it's funny, people be all commenting in the comment stream. Sometimes it's got spiritual elements to it. I bring my faith perspective into it, but sometimes it's just to connect in. And then I end with just reading a prayer that I find online and just try to encourage people. So that's one of the pieces that we've been using to engage people.
Cool.
It's fun.
And then you guys are doing.
I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm running on a MacBook 2012 with an external HD camera, a Logitech one that I bought because I was doing Zoom meetings. I'm pushing this thing to the max, but having a blast doing it.
Cool. And then you guys are also doing like a family night thing on some Friday nights, that kind of stuff, and getting people together that way.
Yeah, Candy's done a great job with that. Creating just game nights with Zoom. That is chaos. Like you put like 20 families of kids and you're all on a Zoom thing. We've done Zoom bingo. We're just Friday nights and having a blast connecting in. But you know what? One of the neatest things was after the kids had all run away or got their snacks, some of the parents stayed on. And so we're able just to talk to some of these parents, especially, we're all dealing with the same stuff. I got a 13-year-old and a 9-year-old. Our lives vastly changed, but in those moments of engagement, and it's amazing what Zoom could do.
Yeah,
we're just having a talk and just encouraging each other.
That's cool. Cool. Thanks, Aaron. So Al, you used to have a 13-year-old and a 9-year-old
Yep, not anymore.
a long time ago. So Al, you guys are your church is a little bit different than the other three, kind of partly because it's a big church. It's got kind of some different elements involved. You you know, I don't want to take the words out of your mouth, but you guys had, you've got your main campus on Boswick Road, and then you've got the remote campus at Clark Road Secondary School, and you had started with doing some recording and taking those recordings up there, but you hadn't been doing streaming up until now, right?
No, it's actually been kind of a journey for us. When we first started doing video stuff or camera work, we had 2 or 3 old cameras that we put in, and it was just to get video out to the atrium and to what we call our green room as well, so that people who are participating in the service can actually take in the service and the message. But the quality wasn't great. And we were waiting for a reason to increase the quality. And when we started the East Campus over at Clark Secondary School, that made a difference for us. It's when we bought a switcher and upgraded our cameras so that we could do high definition stuff. But even then, what we do now is about 50% of the time we record the message, and it goes over to the East Campus where we play it back on video. And that really works well for them to engage. And 50% of the time we have a live speaker over there.
Right.
So we had a lot of things ready to go, but we weren't streaming. We've been talking about it for a while, whether we should or whether we shouldn't. Does it take away from your physical campus? Does it not? I mean, there's all those questions that all the guys here are going through, and we're just trying to learn this stuff as well, just like anybody else. So when the time came, we were in the middle of, it was back in March. We had done the service on March 8th, and it was kind of a special service that was connected to the following week. And our senior pastor came in my office and he said, "Hey, do you think we could stream next week?" And I'm going, "Sure." And I knew all we needed was one piece of equipment. What he didn't know is that I'd been building the system, so I'd be ready to go when the time came.
Right.
So fortunately, you had that in stock, and so we snagged that, and we got a lot of help from Stream Monkey. They helped us get it set up right away, and it worked. It's been working flawlessly ever since. We're still trying to figure out some stuff for sure.
Sure.
But it's been working great in our context.
Right. Okay. And how does your system work? Sorry, just one second. I'm just going to switch to this because I've got a couple of pictures here that are just some screenshots from what you guys are doing. So right now you're doing kind of a recording of what a regular service would look like. Is that right?
Yeah, pretty much. We're talking about changing this now, but what we would do is we've made the music team pretty small. There's only 4 participants on stage plus a speaker.
Right.
And the building's big enough that we can actually have more people in that, what we consider a separate gathering. So we have 3 or 4 people as well doing the tech side of things.
Sure.
So what we would do is we just do the service live at 9 a.m. and we stream that live. And then after that, it gets processed at StreamMonkey, and then I just set it up so that it reruns at our designated service time. So it'll run again at 11 in the morning, 7 at night, Wednesday at 7, which gives people a couple of opportunities to see it. But our big hits are going to be on Sunday morning for those 9 and 11 services. That's when it's the regular time for them. They're getting connected into it really well.
Right. Okay. All right, cool. And, what are your goals? Like, what were your goals going into this? What was, I know, Rob's, what were kind of the things that he was saying, we need to be able to do this?
Well, when we were doing that second service of those 2 special services, we just really wanted people to have a chance to connect in. We were trying to get our church to engage in a generosity campaign. We were trying to sponsor some kids through World Vision, even a village in Malawi through World Vision. So the second week was what we called the Reveal Sunday. So we didn't want people to miss out on that, and that was the time when the services were virtually shut down. So we were still able to have a full band then because it hadn't gone to 5 people. But so the goal with that was really to have people in the room with us, even though they're not in the room with us.
Sure, right.
So we're trying to retain some sort of like everybody else here is saying tonight, some kind of a connective tissue that people can stay connected in and can involve themselves in the kind of worship service that we present at our church. Right. One of the things that's different about our church is we have a couple of performed songs, probably 3. There'd be a couple of congregational songs, maybe 2. We often use drama or sometimes a video element to tie all the theme together so that it goes in with the speaking. But it's predominantly designed so that people who have been disconnected from God or have never been connected with God have a chance to come in and begin an exploration on their own. So one of the things that we did is Aaron mentioned Text Now, and we used it last Sunday for the first time. So in Rob spoke in Easter Sunday message. He talked about getting connected personally with Jesus, and so afterwards, when he was doing his closing comments for the service, we put up the text number from Text Now, just for people who had, for the first time, they said, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to take another step with Jesus. I'm going to come forward. I want to know him personally." And we got a great response from that. We had about 60 people that were saying, "Hey, I want to get connected. I want to understand more about this, or I want this kind of connection in my life." So the Text Now thing, Aaron, we're pretty pleased with it. And that was the first time we've used it, but it seems like a really, really cool tool.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay.
Sorry, I was just going to finish off some of that goals stuff that you had mentioned. For the longest time, as I mentioned, we kind of debated about whether an online presence would hurt us or not.
Right.
By the time where we are now, and we're seeing the kinds of results that we're seeing on the stream, and we haven't even activated all the platforms yet. We're trying to figure out some stuff with StreamMonkey for video and YouTube and Facebook Live. But we think that what we've kind of been presented with, and I expect most of us who are involved in churches are going to be presented with, is a chance to have a vibrant and robust online community in addition to a good physical community as well. And
Sure.
This is what I've had guys tell me for years. Our online communities are as strong or sometimes bigger than our physical community. And so we think that we're going to have a chance to have kind of, in a sense, another campus.
That's interesting. And, kind of throwing it out to all 4 of you guys, you've been doing this now for 4 weeks, kind of mandated that way. What do you guys see? Do you think that your churches that really didn't do this, to this hardcore level before, do you think you're going to this is going to be an element of what you're doing moving forward? Or is this something where you're saying, you know what, we learned some things, it went okay, but we're going back to the sanctuary, getting everybody back in the auditorium, sort of thing. What do you think? Aaron, I think your mic is muted.
I guess I could go.
Okay.
I think, I don't think, I really noticed too that we actually have had more people streaming our services than we would actually physically attend. And I think what it's really opened for me is as well, there's many people that want to attend as well, but because of either physical situations they're dealing with, they just they can't get out, like we would call it shut-ins or something like that, but now they can connect too.
Sure.
I'm sensing that I don't think that we will go back. I think we'll continue to do some kind of online presence in our service moving forward.
As long as you can get faster internet into your building.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think if we ever come out of this, we are going to have to pivot to be able to do it again quickly. There's no guarantee that we will not go back into quarantine again later if it comes around again. And so I think we would do well to learn the lessons of streaming now to make sure that we're ready for another round. So I think we're always going to have this increased online presence. I know living in Burlington, a lot of commuters, and nights are tough. So even right now, we've got a group of ladies connecting on the Zoom platform. I know that sounds different, but yet there's a good group of them there. I just got a little report, but I'm looking, okay, what audio things do I need? I got these old gamer headsets, right? I'm going to be making sure that I got a Focusrite Scarlett at home, so I get good audio into my laptop.
I know where you can buy one of those if you want, Aaron.
And that's what I mean. This is the resource stage, but like, so I'm like spending my time looking, okay, what pieces of equipment do I need to have at home? So at a moment's notice, I can go home, set up my mic, have a little studio here, and we can do it if we need to. And, even at the church, what are we going to do differently for that? I think it's going to change the way we do things. But for me, I know as the senior leader, it's going to be a great opportunity to look at, well, what things don't we need to do when we go back? That's as much as what we need to do. So what do we don't need to do in order to move forward?
You maybe need to start working on that logo for Monday nights with Pastor Aaron. Get that copyrighted. What do you think, Adam? Are you guys is it gonna be kind of a long-term thing for you? I mean, what you're doing with devotions weekly, that's a ton of work, but I think it's probably got a pretty good impact on people.
Yeah. So whatever we do probably falls on my plate, and that's what scares me. I'm not willing to commit to this long term. Near the beginning of this, I just read this quote. I forget who posted it, but said something like, after week 1, your pastor says, okay, we had X amount of people connect online. Does that matter? And the quote was something like, that's just like Sears 10 years ago saying, does Amazon matter?
Yeah, right.
And there's this sense that things are changing, and if we don't pivot with this, then we're missing something, Right. For us, I'd echo what Al said. We had about 2,000 streams of our Good Friday service. We would usually have about 600 people in the building max.
Yeah.
And so for us to have 3 times as many people connect to what we were doing that day, I just don't know how you argue with that. I don't know how you go back and just say, wow, that was fun. We're glad COVID's over. So let's go back to life as usual, sort of thing. So,
right.
Yeah, I tell you, I'm just wrestling with what those answers are, but I think the wrestling's worth it.
Sure. So this is Resource Stage, as Aaron pointed out, and we are Horizon, and we do deal with technology. So I think that we would be amiss to not talk a bit about what technology you guys are using for different things. Al, maybe we'll start with you. You by far have the most complicated system of everybody else's, at least with all the different components and that kind of thing, with what you're doing as far as sending video to other ends of the building and such. I did kind of break it down into a bit more of a simple block diagram, which we can pull up here in just a second. Just one second. I need to get my video switcher person to be switching. There we go. All right. So you can't see this, but basically you've got 4 cameras coming into your Ross video switcher. You've got a media PC that's coming in, and then down to its simplest level, you're coming out of the Ross, going to a HyperDeck recorder, and then you're going to a Matrox streaming device, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of at its simplest level of what you're doing, right?
Actually, that's pretty much the entire system for the stuff that we're using to get it to the outside of the building.
Right.
It's pretty straightforward. I do have to point out though that you have a device over your left shoulder that's flashing, and the reason we have so much equipment is because you show stuff like that, and then I don't even care what it does. I just want
it
one.
just flashes, so you have to.
Looks cool.
Yeah. Sure. Well, yeah, we could do a whole session on what some of that equipment is. Some of my favorite pieces of equipment are in there. Is there anything that in that system that you would say, you know what, this was really kind of a game changer? I know that this is a system you've been building for a little while now. It's just the streaming part is the interesting add-on.
Yeah, I think it's like obviously the streaming thing was that was a game changer because it gave us abilities we never had before. And working with StreamMonkey, they've been absolutely flawless. But if I were to say like a game changer for us, because I've been wanting us to do video, it just seems to fit well with our context. One of the things that made the big difference for us is when we purchased the Ross switcher.
Right.
It's a broadcast quality switcher. It's the one that we have is the lowest model they make. But it's been a great piece of equipment. The other side of things that has worked has been the stuff that we've been able to pick up from you, which we're using a Roland switcher in our mix as well. And we've got like I say, the Matrix Monarch that we snagged from you guys a couple of weeks ago. That was definitely worth the purchase.
Right.
So those things have really kind of helped us.
So something that Aaron mentioned before we started streaming tonight was that one of the struggles has been audio. And I know that a lot of the people that we talk to, audio is a struggle, trying to get levels right, trying to get things to kind of work. I think one of the advantages that Adam maybe has, if he's pre-recording everything, then he can kind of be a little bit more picky and choosy as to how that works. Now, in the way that you guys are, again, your system is a little bit more advanced than some, but do you want to just kind of touch on what you're dealing with audio, Al, and how you're kind of making that work? Or maybe how that system is building out?
Yeah, currently what we do is audio comes from the mixer, and we have it set up in a matrix that basically is a sum of what our house speakers, left and right, center
So
channels.
I should stop you and say, so this is a digital mixer. This is an Allen Heath
Yes.
digital mixer, right?
Yeah, so and that outputs to our upstairs booth. I have a compressor there where I'm compressing it to make sure that the speaking parts are loud enough, but the music parts aren't crushing anything.
Right.
And I'll be honest with you, this has been a tough one because it's hard to listen to post everything else. So post the stream. So I turned up the levels a little bit on Sunday because we've had low levels. And one of the guys said he thought he heard some distortion, and it's really hard to tell from our side of it. So once we get things straightened around and we're going to move our camera control room to the basement. Once we have it down there, I have an Allen Heath SQ6 mixer it's another digital mixer sitting in the box still. But that is how we'll process all audio going out to the stream once we get these moves done. And I'm really looking forward to that because I think that's going to give us much better monitoring and see how things are going with combination of both of those mixers.
Right. Yeah, because then you've got somebody else able to do a complete sub mix just for the stream.
Yeah, we'll have somebody else. The team's basically going to have to double in size, and we'll have somebody else mixing in that room with a set of headphones on, and he's just only mixing for the stream. That's it.
Right. Okay. All right. Aaron, I'm gonna try to find a picture here I've got of your system. So I kind of redrew what you had sent to me, and you've got. It looks like we've got your microphone inputs going into your mixer, and then you've got guitar because you've got your small, I think you said 6-channel mixer, right? And then you are going into one iOS device with the audio, and then you're sending, well, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Mevo controls all that. Sorry, finish.
No. Go ahead.
That was the thing. So Mevo is easy, but it's very limited in what you can do. But if you, the first week, because we didn't have any of the adaptation, the nice thing is that any iOS device running the Mevo mic app can become a microphone for you, and that got us through that hump. So once we tied it into the soundboard through a line out, it will actually record out and into an iOS device and it works better with the 1/8" jack. The Lightning never really worked well.
Right.
So we got an old iOS device that works fine with that, but it's all working on our wireless network for that way. Our hardest thing was because we don't do this, we don't have any cameras. Lyrics for our worship songs was a real challenge. So we have a computer that outputs through HDMI to an LCD TV, but I've not tackled the technology. The LCD screen looks really bad on the Mevo camera for whatever reason. I don't know whether that's a resolution issue, but I have not ventured into the world of alpha channels and overlays. I've not got into that, but certainly that would be one of the major criticisms we get back from people. We can't see the lyrics really clearly. And so that's a hurdle we're trying to figure out. Mevo does allow you. We use ProPresenter on our computer. We can't tie in another stream into the Mevo mix, you get one stream
Right.
with the Mevo camera, and that's
Right.
all you get.
Yeah.
So, but I think we've heard you can do a PDF and like switch through PDF. So we're playing with that, and experimenting a little bit, but it's very limited.
And this, I guess, is the thing, right? Is that all of these different platforms have their good and their bad to them. And the Mevo camera, really, like you said, when it came down to we have to do something, we need to do something by Sunday, and you can order it from Amazon, then yeah, it can get you up and running. You know, the system at Forest City is pretty sophisticated and has got a number of different things going on. The system that that St. Paul's is using of basically, you know, people being able to look for a PDF and be able to get the information from that. Like, there's all these different ways you can do it. And I guess we're all going to be, you know, at some point in time reevaluating this and saying, okay, this is what we did to get by, and then what are we going to do kind of as the future plan. And I think that what's interesting about that is that there are some people who've spent tons and tons and tons of money, and they've gone down one road and they've decided, you know what, that wasn't actually worth it. We can go down this road. And then other groups, of course, the other side, where you say, well, we really have to be able to integrate text overlaid and that kind of thing. So Al Brower, your system is pretty simple. It's pretty easy, eh? Let me see.
I don't know if the picture there.
Yeah, I'm just gonna pull that up here. So we've got a block here, and basically we've got mic inputs, your keyboard going into a little Mackie mixer connected with USB to a laptop, and then a webcam, right?
Yeah, which is it's a HD webcam, so it's a good quality webcam.
Sure.
I think the biggest issue that and then for our words, we pretty much have all our bolts and everything printed before, and it's also on the website, so people could download that
Right.
While they're in the meeting.
Right.
You know, so they can go between the two screens, you know, between your meeting and then to the bulletin as well. But yeah, our biggest issue with technology has been with the music, the piano part. The vocally, we can be okay going through the mixer, and we've been trying to do a piano through or we got a keyboard now through the mixer as well. But we still find getting a good mix is very hard, and without especially the limitations of WebEx, in the sense of it sounds like sometimes the piano will be loud and sometimes it'll sound lagging a little bit, right? Like it's been the hardest. So we wanted to do a special song, my wife and my daughter and I, singing to just an audio track. And we were trying to do that. And we found every time we practiced with my sister-in-law, as she checked into a meeting, we found it just wasn't the quality that we wanted.
Right.
So we ended up pre-recording it pretty much. We just recorded it. And then we're going to play it as part of the meeting in the screen share.
Right.
Right. Like kind of similar to what you're doing here. And of course, but this time it just didn't work. It just didn't work for some reason. We're not exactly sure why. Right. But that's been our biggest struggle, is trying the mostly the piano, the accompaniment music part of it. The vocally, I think everybody said they can hear fine, and I use, you know, a headset, right, too. So when I speak, so people aren't having a problem with that. But it's just the piano, and as people say, thank goodness you could sing, you know, or else it would be really bad, right? Like
sure. Yeah.
But,
Okay, cool. Adam, I asked earlier on. I asked Adam with you guys as well to send me kind of a block diagram as to what it was he did, and his response was, "We pre-record everything," and that was the whole block diagram. So it is a little bit different if you are pre-recording. You do end up with looking at some of the things that you guys have done. You've got stuff that you've done in your auditorium, in your sanctuary space, and using different cameras. And then I think you said that you're using just SD cards and then editing those, right?
Yep.
But I've also noticed that some of the stuff, it looks like people are using their webcams or their cell phones at home. Is that right?
Yep. This afternoon I recorded my part of worship for this coming Sunday,
right,
on my iPhone in my living room. And I don't know if you saw on our Facebook or whatever, but for Easter weekend, we had 4 different musicians, 4 screens. We recorded one, sent it to the next. They recorded theirs, passed it on, kind of thing.
Cool.
And we did that for Easter because we thought it would be something different. We thought it would be, it would avoid us having to gather in the auditorium, sort of thing.
Right.
I just want to keep doing it. I can do it at least one more week and get some new musicians involved. And I think it's just visually interesting. It's a bit more interesting than us being on the stage in our auditorium, sort of thing. So the other factor for me in hearing some of your setups and stuff is that requires, or it can at least require, a lot of people power to make it happen. Even for us, if we're pre-recording, it takes at least 3 or 4 people behind the scenes making things happen. And when we're trying to avoid, having people together, sort of thing, that's a challenge. And for me, 2 of my tech people live in the same house and had a relative come back from Australia this week, and they said, we got to self-quarantine for 2 weeks. I said, you guys are kidding me, right?
Wow.
Like, you're my most 2 important people, so.
Wow.
There's just the realities that we have to deal with too. So.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because you're right. When you do have a lot of people that you're trying to rely on, it takes a lot of people. Like, Forest City's got 3 camera people going. I mean, Al Brower's got the advantage of it's all kind of within one house. So so within one household, it's got some advantages. But you've got a ton of work that you're doing with editing, right?
Yeah, I guess over time you start to get smart and you start to go, okay, yeah, I mean, for instance, the first week, there's this video guy at our church, and he got a hold of me and he goes, hey, how are you syncing up all your footage? Like, how are you getting it all to sync up? And I said, just blood, sweat, and tears. That's how I do it,
Right.
So he gave me the heads up on this plugin for Adobe Premiere, and it saved my life. It just cut tons of time off of editing. So just trying to get smart with little things here and there, and going, I think a single camera would be fine for this 3-minute clip or whatever, and
Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah. You're not trying to win an Oscar or something like that, really.
Yeah. I mean, the very first time we met, what was it, March 15th or something? My sound guy goes, okay, cool. We did the whole worship set. Let's do it again. And I said, you know what? We're not going to do it again, because I just don't. The priority is not that this is slick. The priority is that this is genuine.
Right.
That we're not trying to wow people. We're trying to include people. We're trying to help them to worship. We're not trying to impress them. And so it's just trying to find balance in that stuff, I guess. But
Yeah. Right.
I echo what Adam said. We're not trying to wow them right now. We're trying to connect them. I think there's a difference there. I think that's a great point.
Yeah. What do you guys, in kind of the whole group, what are you guys finding are your biggest hurdles? You've mentioned a couple of different things, whether it's time or whether it's people who have to self-quarantine or whether it's internet connection. Is there anything that kind of stands out that is, this is just a real pain in the neck? Adam, you look like you've got 5 things you want to say.
let me just say, have you ever set the VCR for your grandma? Have you ever done that? I feel like I'm among friends here, so I can speak.
Yeah, and well, the good news is this isn't online or anything like that. Nobody will hear you say it. Go ahead.
Honestly, I feel like that is one of our biggest challenges. Is somebody will say, I can't find the stream, or this isn't working, or I click this and it doesn't do that. And sometimes it's on us. And
sure.
We use Vimeo, and there's a Vimeo issue that we're trying to deal with right now. And so we're trying to make that work. I'm trying to do my best with that. And instead of getting frustrated, here's what I've resorted to as of this last weekend. I just said, would you just tell them to email me?
Sure.
I would be glad to help them walk through what they need. But it just can't be done quickly and easily.
Right.
Like you can't say, hey, it's not working, what do I do? Well, it's more complicated than that. So I'm trying to have a good attitude.
Man, you know what? Well, the two comments. So the one is, you do realize we deal with tech support questions every day, right? So, I hear you 100%, but I think that everybody is dealing with this, and it doesn't matter what level. I mean, tonight we're using Microsoft Teams for this connection, right? And I get the impression that, the four of you guys aren't all Microsoft Teams peoples. So we all had little things where it was like, okay, do I click on this? Do I click on that? Do I have to use this link or that link? And it's every single one of these platforms has got its little idiosyncrasies that are just slightly different. Yeah, well, it is what it is. Anybody else? Big hurdles?
I'd say one of the things for us is, as we go through the stream, we're trying to retain the same kind of quality that we would have on a Sunday morning. So,
Right.
and we make plenty of mistakes, and if we can get a good laugh out of them, that makes everybody comfortable. But one of the things that I had done is I really thought we should go with 1080i. And so I bought all this data from StreamMonkey, and we were running 1080i, and out of a year's worth of data, we'd eaten through like probably 9 months of it within a couple of weeks.
Wow.
That's just because of the view. So I dropped it down to 720p, which I didn't think would make a whole lot of difference on data, but it totally cut it in half,
Cool.
and probably a little bit more than that. So, I mean, I guess that could be an issue for others as well. If you look at that and you get kind of fussy like I was about the 1080i, it's not a big sacrifice to go down.
Sure.
Okay, but here's what I'm hearing. When I watch it on Facebook, it's all grainy. And I said, there's a little sprocket that gives you the option for HD. Please spread the word.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. It is definitely trying to educate, for sure.
For us, I think it's a little bit of there's some financial constraints. I love watching Tech TV. Leo Laporte, he runs all of his stuff, and they're all streaming. I mean, that's how they make their money, right? So I know the language of like Blackmagic switchers and Alex Lindsay and all of these guys that do this. So that's another world of mine. Like I love that tech stuff. It's just that just to afford that kind of stuff. I know what we could do in a stream. Like I know we could do Alpha Channel, and I know we could have the banners up there. I know we could have the lyrics up there, but it's getting just volunteers or people with that passion to do it without burning. So right now our staff is doing most of this stuff. There's just so much to do, and the learning curve could be so steep. We know what we could do, but what should we do? It becomes really helpful for us right now. There's certain things we know we should do to make it better. I mean, but that'll just take some time for us. If I could solve the lyric issues on the screen, all my complaints would go away, because people have a hard time seeing it on their computer screens, seeing an LCD TV. If I could solve the lyric issue live, that's what, Adam, you talk about recording it, you could lay all those graphics over words and you got it right there. In a live scenario with us, I just find it's really a challenge how to do that. Now, knowing there's technology out there that we could do it live.
Have you thought about doing the thing, where the person holds the cards and then drops the cards? No?
It was on the table. My phrase to the staff was that we throw everything at the wall and we see what sticks.
Sure.
Luckily, what stuck was the LCTV, and we're trying to do our best with it. But yeah,
right.
That'd been good. Yeah.
I know.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Carl. I was just going to say one of the things for us is like you, Aaron. I don't think it matters how big your church is. When it comes down to budgetary stuff, you're kind of going, this is our limited resources. This is what we can spend. This is as good as it's going to get. But one of the things that's really worked out well for us, and just God taking care of, maybe it's just taking care of me for making a fool of myself, but we've got about 4 people on our camera team and our technical teams that have long-term professional experience in the TV world. One of them's even watching this right now. And without those guys, because I mean, they just lose me in about 2 seconds flat when they start talking about horizontal lines and black sync. But that's been a super help for us. So some of those people resources that, like Adam's mentioned and Aaron too, sometimes people come out of the woodwork when they see this kind of need.
Sure. So are you offering to loan them to other churches then, Al? Is that
For a fee, sure.
for a fee? Sure.
Listen, I heard him say he's got an extra Allen digital board in a box. Like,
That's-
ship it to Burlington, brother. Like, I don't know what it's doing in a box. You have a church in Burlington that could totally use an Allen digital.
I'll
There-
send it right out, but I got to make a good profit on it. So,
Keep it right in the face. I mean, I'll be in the new market for a new board when I get out of quarantine.
but you know what? In all seriousness, if some of our guys that have I'm talking about guys that have 30, 35 years in the TV world, like if anybody wanted to ask anything of Carl, our guys would be happy to kind of help facilitate some of that as well. I know they would.
Yeah, cool. Okay, that's great.
Like, I know we're part of a denomination, Fellowship Baptist, and so we had a think tank, and so we had pastors and leaders from all over the province dialing into a Zoom meeting. Some guys are in the middle of the country where like the bandwidth issue is a massive thing,
Yeah.
right? And so they're like, "What do we do?" And some of them were pivoting towards what is it, Church Online? Use that as a platform. Putting the recorded Craig Gershell's church, Live Church. They have a Church Online platform free
Right.
for churches that you can upload your media. Some were doing that way, and some were just like some guys were like the sound system is literally a switch they turn on before they start the service because they're just in some remote areas. And so there's a huge learning curve even going on with some of our leaders to get them the right tech. And we're just saying it doesn't have to be crazy expensive, but there's little things you could do to increase your audio quality and increase your video quality a little bit better so that what you do have for content, even if it's coming from your living room, you can do it a lot better with a little bit of an investment. And most churches, I think, are willing to spend a little bit to help out with that.
Well, and I think that, what St. Paul's is doing, Al, I'm not sure that you guys really spent any money kind of out of the gate, right? It was just kind of, this is what we need to do and we need to get going, right?
No, the only expense was my $8 more a month for upping my internet speed at home. And,
Right. And I'm sure your kids are really complaining about that, right?
they're not. Having 4 kids doing online schooling at home, right? Like that's like we'll pull out the old laptops, whatever we can find, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
yeah.
Well, and the other thing I suppose is like, like what Adam's doing and at New Hope, by being able to record it and by being able to then post it, then somebody can stream it at a different speed, right? Or sorry, at a different quality. And again, that gets into conversations about transcoders and why there's some advantages to using Facebook versus using some other platforms or whatever. And or Vimeo has that same option, obviously, as well. So there's all kinds of different reasons why you might want to go with one thing or the other. Do you guys think that you're achieving the goals? I mean, we talked about some goals. Do you think that you're actually getting there? And I suppose you could open that up, right? You could say, well, does the staff, does the leadership, does the elder, do the elders, does the board at your church feel like you're achieving those goals? And then the other side of it is does your congregation feel like you're achieving the goals? The things that they kind of signed up for when they started coming to your church.
Well, I think from our context, because this is unprecedented, I mean, anything is better than what we could have been doing. So the goals are met and beyond. We've never had the presence or the video camera situation. So this was all new to us. So maybe much like Alan Brower, like we're meeting our goals because people are happy because they're at least getting connected. Down the road, maybe the goals will change, but because this is unprecedented, the goals were pretty low early on, and I think most of us have met those goals pretty quickly.
Right. Do you think that people? Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, for us, it's like on one side, we feel like the connections are happening really well. We've had a fantastic response from the congregation and from other folks who are just so glad to be able to connect. And we did Good Friday as well. Lots that were just thrilled about being able to kind of capture those moments and be involved with those. The other side is the technical side. If we're on an improvement trend, I'm pretty happy. We still make mistakes. I mean, this stuff is not easy. And I don't care what your setup is, whether it's just a camera or whether it's a dozen cameras. Yeah, like, it's not easy to get all that stuff so it's distraction free for people that want to worship God. So if we do better, even a little bit better every week, we're thrilled with it.
I think you're touching on something that we talk about around here a lot, and that is that, our goal would be that, we talk about that we provide, we sell, we design tools for worship, for teaching, for performance, for education, whatever it is, whichever those groups, and at no point in time should those things be distracting. Right? Like, the technology should not be distracting. It should not be a hindrance to you being able to present the message that you're intending to present. And in the church context, that's one context. The same sort of thing applies for our other clients. Well, I know for a fact that our stream has glitched a couple of times tonight, and that becomes distracting. And it's tough because we spend so much time on thinking through, trying to figure out, how do we make sure that it's not going to be distracting? How do we make sure that there isn't going to be a problem, that everything's going to be seamless, that there's going to be, a backup for the backup, all that kind of stuff. But then, like Al Brower said, you press play on a video that you've tested multiple times before, and then for whatever reason, it doesn't play. And it plays after, it played before, and it doesn't, and it becomes, when you're streaming and there's all kinds of people just like, what's going on, right? It's tough. It's not easy.
Hey, you know what makes it easier? It's pre-recording.
How did I know you were going to say that?
That is the poster boy now. Pre-recording. That's right.
It's my perfectionism that helps me make this decision easily. For us, asking whether we're achieving our goals, again, we keep asking that, every week or two, just saying, do we need to adjust? And we're adjusting again. We're going to do something a little different next week. But we decided in the beginning that a big win for us would be that people would feel a sense of connection to the church, that those who are part of the church, they would feel connected to the church,
Right.
That when they come back in 2, 4, 8 weeks, that they would feel connected still. And so for us, that's a huge thing. I said to our musicians, I was dropping off some musical instruments to some musicians a few days ago, and I'm standing on the front lawn, and it's so good to be with people in those moments. And I just said to them, hey, thanks for doing this, because I think it communicates value to the congregation in what we're doing. I mean, it looks like we're putting a ton of work into something that maybe we could do a lot easier, a different way. But I think it communicates value to the congregation. It communicates that we still remember you, just because we're not meeting on a Sunday doesn't mean, hey, week off, hope you guys are good, hope you tune into Life Church, and God bless, we'll see you later.
Yeah, right.
No, we value you. We want you to be doing well. We're going to follow up with you with phone calls and all the rest, and we're going to kill ourselves doing that. But just in this little, even just the technical aspect, valued, and we want you to know that we're putting 100% in, just like we would any other week. That's a huge thing for us.
Right. Right, for sure. Anybody else?
I would echo to what Adam said. Is a lot of, I think initially we spent so much effort trying to get our Sunday services up in a presentable way for people and getting them engaged and connected. But in the midst of that, we wanted to make, I think now we're really focusing on how do we really let people know they're valued and we care about them, calling them on the phone, dropping off meals if they need a meal, getting our people to not just be concerned about the Sunday morning, but during the week, and caring for people. I think for me, after Easter Sunday, we had done our service, and people have been feeling very valued by us doing it. And then Ingersoll, of course, has the big famous pipe band, and we had come right out in front of my house. I'm, resting after a big Easter service and resting, and suddenly they call me and say, "Can you come outside a second, outside your front door?" And the three pipers are playing there, right in front of my driveway. But it was interesting because it drew all my neighbors out of their houses too, and it's helped us as Christian leaders too to feel like, yeah, we're not just part of a church community, but we're also part of a neighborhood as families, right? And we can connect and reach out and care for these people that are right around us all the time. And it was just kind of thrilling for me to have these pipers playing and say, yeah, they go to our church, and you hear Amazing Grace piping out into the whole neighborhood, right? So it's exciting for me. So I think, as you say, we're meeting our goals. I think our goals are being rewritten every week.
Yeah, right.
Even for me, our leadership team usually meets once a month, right? And does a meeting. And I'm saying, I'm gonna think we can't do that because things are changing week by week here. We're gonna have to meet maybe shorter, but more often, and
Right.
just to connect in and see how we can meet people's needs. So it's kind of rewriting our goals a lot too in this whole process for us.
Right. I think that Aaron was saying earlier on about how he kind of inadvertently has created this Facebook time on Mondays, and he's got other people who are connecting with it. And I know that at Forest City, I think it's the youth and the young adults, they're doing weekly online things, playing categories. There's these online tools now that are available, and some of the stuff that Adam mentioned that is the children's ministry people are doing. I think there's a lot of opportunities for churches to kind of step back from the things that we do, the time that we put in are all based on what we do on Sunday or what we do on Wednesday night or whatever, and how it happens within the building. And there's some interesting ways that technology can be used to connect with the community, connect with your neighbors or whatever. Because there's been a couple of times, and I just haven't got around to doing it yet, but there's been a couple of times earlier in the week where I've seen Aaron post online that he's got this family night thing happen on Friday night, and I'm thinking, I don't know that Aaron's going to mind if I kind of say, can I put my kids on there to play bingo online?
That's right.
There's opportunities to get to know other people and to get your family and your extended family from wherever, to get involved. And it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think our youth have pivoted a lot faster than some of the older adults. Our youth ministry, our youth pastor, he's a tech boss. I mean, he's using Discord, he's using OBS. He's got it all. I mean, I looked at his setup. He's got a Yeti mic at home. Like he's producing the youth show. And these kids, my daughter says, "Oh, Dad, I gotta go. I got to go up to my room. Youth is starting." And she'll go up to her room and they're playing games. I mean, the next day she won a contest playing a game. A pizza showed up. Like it's crazy. These our youth are, and I think they're able to connect to vast. Like they can share it. Like it's amazing what they're doing.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool. There's lots of opportunities out there, and I think that sometimes churches can easily focus on churches about Sunday morning, or it's about what happens in the building throughout the week. And whether we like it or not, this has caused us to have to rethink what church is really about. You know what? I do have a question that I was going to wrap up, but I do have one question that if people are watching this online and they don't really, they're not connected to church all the time, this might sound like, it's one of those sorts of questions. But I do think it's important, and that is, how are churches dealing with the financial side of this? Because we're 4 weeks in, and you might be able to say, well, you know what, we had some money in the bank, so we're okay. But there's a lot of churches today, it's about, people being in the chairs, in the pews, offering plate goes around, box at the back of the sanctuary, whatever it might be. Now, obviously, there's lots of people doing donations online, but what do you think that looks like in the future? I know there's a lot of churches who say, well, we don't want to talk about money. But the reality is like, I've got theater clients who are starting to ask people and say, look, can you donate to the theater because we don't have any money? And so this isn't about churches, some people think churches are just trying to grab for cash. That's not what I'm asking. I'm saying, in all seriousness, what does that look like? If we're at this for another 4 to 8 weeks, what does that look like for churches? How do you deal with that?
Well, for us, we have a couple of different modes. We do have an app, and we use a program called PushPay. It's a terrible name, but what we try to do is, the reality is, for a church like ours, we rely on gifts to operate, and those operating things don't go away. And we have I think about 8 people full time on staff, and another 12 or 14 that are part time. And one of the expectations from them, if they're on our staff, is for them to show true generosity toward the church and their givings to the church. But for us, we're just keeping a really close eye on everything. And we are, as a church, we're eligible for some of the government programs. There's another one around, and maybe some of you guys will think this is cheesy. We usually don't mind talking about money because we don't beg for it. If you watch one of our streams, you'll see Rob every Sunday morning. We still have an opportunity to give to the church, but he will say every Sunday morning, if you don't come to Forest City Community Church and you have a church you're involved with, don't give money to Forest City. Give it to your church that you go to because they need support. Your church needs support. So that's the way we're doing it, but we're also keeping a really close eye on our finances and the government programs as well. Another option for some of the streamers out there is a company called Promethean. And what they'll allow you to do is you can have an overlay on top of your stream where you could say, if you had an offering time, you could say give now, and they can actually give money to the church without leaving the stream, which means they still get to participate in the service while they're still supporting the church financially, because the church's financial needs they're not going to get much smaller unless we start laying off staff.
Yeah, it's been part of our discussion since the very beginning. We just migrated to, we use Subsplash. They're our church app, and they have a giving portion. We pivoted to that about a year ago and really pushed hard to get our people onto that, which we're really thankful that we did. And we saw when we went to an online giving stream like that, it just, using that technology, it actually increased our giving at our church. Rather than, I forgot to write a check. I don't have a check. What are checks? All of that gamut. And so, yeah, we're keeping an eye on the finances. And because we're a smaller church, we own our own building. We don't have a lot of debt. And so there's just, some things we're thankful for. And there's other things that we're just keep trusting God for to do. But we've pivoted to that online giving. So we're praying as much as people haven't lost their jobs or are able to give, that they'll continue to be generous.
I think those Monday nights with Pastor Aaron T-shirts will probably be able to get you some money too.
You know what? I honestly, I have to fight the urge to conjure the spirit of Dr. Johnny Fever from WKRP. Now, Adam, I know you're too young to have a clue what I'm talking about here, but oh yeah, a radio host. Yeah, there we go.
There you go, eh? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's just one of those things that I think sometimes people don't want to talk about, but it's important. I mean, everybody's in a tough spot these days. Mm-hmm. Is there any other things that we should make sure that we talk about today?
I think the one thing I sense from Adam too is how do we, as leaders, to take care of ourselves in this time. You can easily get very tired and overwhelmed by all that you feel like you should be doing in this time. And it's really like, I usually do like a seniors Bible study, for instance, on Wednesday mornings. And I've been just really, by the time I'm getting to Wednesday morning, I'm still just kind of recovering from the following week, and taking care of myself spiritually and is a very important thing for me. And thankfully, it's been with my kids home, we've been doing a lot of exercising and a lot of getting out and going for walks and that kind of thing. But yeah, I think that's a big part of it, as well as, you know, I was actually supposed to be at a week of holidays right during March break. And of course, then this all, you know, came down, and it totally changed my focus too. But that's, I think, one thing of how to really get more people involved when you cannot all gather together, right, to coordinate everything. You have to kind of coordinate it from a distance, and trust people too. One good thing in our church that I'm excited about is that one of our people wanted to start a new group to just help people connect, right? Like, and I kind of let her use the WebEx platform, and I just let her go with it and host it, right? Like, and showed her how to do it. And so that's exciting for me, is that we could see other people step out in the church and reach out too.
Yeah, that's cool.
I think
Go ahead.
for us, I think, I mean, I kind of use this motif a little bit, like in our Christian tradition, you know, we do communion, right? And you get a little taste of a bread and you get a little taste of juice. And it's to kind of give you a taste of it, but you look forward to the real thing. I think this technological piece right now is just a little bit of bread and a little bit of juice to look forward to the time where we get back together. Because I think the technology is fantastic, but it can't replace whatever happens when we're actual physically embodied people meeting together. So that's why I think this technology. So I keep telling our staff, is that, you know what, we just got to give them a taste to keep them hungry, so to speak, for the real thing that's to come. And that's what we just keep doing. So whether it's pre-recorded or live, just give them a taste, because the medium is the message is the medium, whatever you want to believe about that. There's still something that we look forward to using the technology to push people to remember that there's a time coming where we'll get together. We might have to go back again, but you know, that helps our staff, I hope, just making sure that they see what we're trying to do.
Yeah, sure. We've got a couple of questions on here. I haven't been monitoring my phone so much as we've been, and it looks like a couple of people have said that the stream has been a little bit quiet. We'll see if we can. I think it's been turned up a little bit. One of the questions that I've got here is, Adam, do you know what the name of that plugin is that you're using in Adobe Premiere?
I know it's called Plural Eyes.
Plural Eyes?
I believe it's from Red Giant.
Red Giant. Okay.
Red Giant, Plural Eyes.
Not Green Giant.
I found it's been really helpful on shorter clips, 5 to 10 minutes. If I'm trying to sync up an hour-long clip, it's problematic, but saves time.
Yeah, okay. All right, cool.
And they give a student discount too.
Is the student discount something that churches can, like sometimes you can use the, not so much? Okay.
You just got to find a student. let them buy it.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm a student.
Yeah, you did say that, didn't you? Yes. Okay. Another question is, churches that do not have a computer or a smartphone or something like that, how are you guys staying connected to them? I know that, I think you mentioned this earlier on, Al Brower, that the WebEx platform obviously allows people to be able to call in and just use their phone. Anybody else? Is there anything that you're doing if somebody doesn't have access to the internet and such?
I was just going to add to that, just we chose WebEx over Zoom just simply because WebEx, you can have up to 100 people without having to pay.
Right.
So if you're on a very limited budget as a church, and that's one key why I picked WebEx, and it can be as long a meeting as you want as well. So yeah, that's the only reason. I've used Zoom numerous times for other meetings that I've been a part of, and it works great and everything too. But That's the only reason why we chose WebEx. So.
We really tried to push some of our leaders to go into making conversations with people to find out how we're able to access. And we were going to move into a Zoom type. We'd have to go into an OBS kind of format, like it, so we could bring Zoom into it, so we could have the call-in numbers. That was, but we haven't had anyone say that they can't connect, and they may be, maybe they're sharing phones or they're taking devices to people or getting them connected in, but it hasn't been an issue really for us.
Okay. All right. Yeah, and I know that some congregations, and especially congregations that are have a little bit older congregation, or they're in rural areas, that it can be an issue. I do know that we have some clients that before we got into the COVID situation, that some have gone as far as buying small MP3 players. They'll go and buy a bunch of $40 MP3 players off of Amazon. They'll take the entire service, put it onto there, and then hand it out to people and drop it off to people's houses. I know that Al had mentioned that he's taking taking bulletins or service what's the right word, schedules, I guess, order of service around to people, and that's that's certainly something that can be done. But yeah, taking things like an MP3 player, dropping off at some people's houses, sometimes that's what needs to happen, I guess. Yeah. Is there anything else that we should be talking about? I think I've already said that, but any parting thoughts? I think I've covered all the questions that I've seen.
I think Horizon could really get into a market where you create a home streaming system, and you guys do the work on finding those solutions. Because there's some people don't have the technical expertise. You put a package together, say here's a phone, here's a streamer, here's you need to have a little kit. I think it could be a huge asset for churches, because some pastors honestly don't have a clue. They're barely holding on to ministry as it is. And then this has just put another burden on top of them where they don't have the people resources. And I think one of the ways that God has uniquely equipped Horizon, even in this, is to do stuff like what's going on here today. But I think even just like home streaming kits that you could ship out in a box, I kid you not, I think pastors would look at that going, where has this been all my life? A little camera, a microphone, and some kind of interface, and be like, yes, someone's helping me, thank you. Because some of them just don't know what to do.
No, I totally understand that. And, doing things like Resource Stage, we certainly have tried to connect with people. Mm-hmm. I'll be honest, when things started to get a little bit silly with COVID and we weren't exactly sure where things were at, I'd sent out an email to all of our staff saying, I think this is what could happen over the next couple of weeks. And that following Tuesday night, we were doing our last Resource Stage seminar, which was on live streaming. And it was just, it was planned months and months before. It just happened to land that week. And then, of course, the following week, we ended up with a lot of places getting closed down. And I think the limitation then was 25 people or something of the sort. And then, it just kind of moved on from there. And we started getting these emails because we get industry emails from lots of different places. And some of our competition across Canada started sending out these emails immediately saying, you need to start streaming. And I kind of said, you know what? The people who know who we are and want to talk to us about this, they'll call us. I'm not really interested in saying, and I felt like some of the emails were coming across as taking advantage of the situation for people. And I didn't want to be in that spot, and that's not who Horizon is. We have had clients contact us about streaming. We've certainly been involved with people who've wanted to stream, and we've tried to help them out. And certainly we can do that. We've now been streaming our events for a while now, and we've been streaming with a lot of clients and doing different things, and we're happy to do that. So whether it's you guys and you come across other churches that are looking for assistance with that, or if there's people online that are looking for help, or no other churches that are looking for help, we can definitely try to help with that. And we're more than happy to do that. Thank you very much, guys, for taking your time to do this. I know that I'm not sure that any of us were exactly sure how long we were going to end up going for tonight, but this is we've definitely exhausted the evening, and I really appreciate you guys taking the time, and I really appreciate the fact that there's no right way of doing church on a Sunday morning, and everybody else has got it wrong. There's no right way to stream in this situation right now. There's no right way to connect with people. And I appreciate that each one of you have said in your own way at different times tonight that, you're trying to figure it out. You're trying to understand it. You're making mistakes. You're doing some things that are great, and it's awesome. You guys are all, you're all good guys, and I like working with you. For anybody who is watching online and you want to know more about what it is that Horizon does and how we might be able to help you out with streaming, or whether or not there's other pieces that we might be able to help you out on, please feel free to contact us. You can find us at horizonsolutions.net, or you can find us with a quick Google search. And we'll definitely try to help. We are in a position where we're not allowed to do any installs right now, as is most of the world. So we can't do any installation work, but we can work with you on things like Aaron said, packages for streaming or other things. We can also work with you on design projects if you're looking to put together a system so that when we can get out and do some more work, we'd be happy to do that. If you are somebody who you've got kind of some unique situation that you're dealing with in your church, and that you are putting together something that you think other people would think was kind of neat, then we'd like to hear from you. We have, as I said, a Facebook page. You can go to the Facebook page that's attached to Horizon Solutions, or the Facebook page attached to Resource Stage, either one of those. And go ahead and post on there. Post your questions if you've got questions, but also post if you've got some things that you think would be interesting for other people to check out. If you said, you know what, I found that this piece of technology has been really, really helpful, then great, go ahead. If you've got some things and you think, you know what we're doing in our church is kind of neat, it's working out really well, awesome. Go ahead and post it on there. It's absolutely the appropriate place to do that. I think that pretty much covers it for tonight. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching the stream, and thank you guys for hanging out with me tonight.
Thanks for what you're doing.
Yeah, no problem.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Thanks,
Have a good night, guys.
Yeah, you guys have a good night.